Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear students, in the last few chapters, we learned a good deal about Indian culture, Indian religion, and the people. Today we're going to cover 5 chapters, chapter 16 from chapter 16 to chapter 20. And in these chapters today we will learn some valuable information about Japan and America, 2 countries together. Because our characters will make a journey from India, from Hong Kong to Yokohama and then to the United States of America. Right. In the last chapter, Mr. Falk, Ayuda and Mr. Fix, they were taken to the American ship. And then in chapter 16, we will know what happened to Mr. Passepartout, because Mr. Fix left Mr. Passepartout at a bar. So Mr. Passepartout got drunk and he became senseless. After that, what happened? Mr. Passepartout was having a dream, and he was having a dream about the Carnatic, the ship to America. And then he woke up, but he was very weak. So he requested the people of the bar to take him to the Carnatic, and they did so. And when he was on the ship, he was looking for his master. He was looking here and there, but he couldn't find him. And then he was very sad and depressed. He started feeling regret. He started having the feelings of regret, sadness and disappointment. Why? Well, the answer is it's because of Mr. Passepartout. Mr. Passepartout was thinking it's because of him his master couldn't catch the ship. Because it was Mr. Passepartout's job to inform his master that the ship would launch today at 8 p.m. But he couldn't do that, so he was feeling sad and depressed. At the same time, he was a little bit concerned because he was now moneyless, he was jobless, and he was friendless. So what he should do? And then instantly an idea flashed into his mind. He was thinking, can you look at the screen? A man must make hay while the sun shines. Now, make hay while the sun shines, this expression or phrase is in a red color. Why? Because this is a very common English expression or phrase that generally the native speakers of English language use. What does this mean? A man must make hay while the sun shines. Making hay while the sun shines, not when the sun sets, while the sun shines. This phrase suggests or means to do something when the situation allows you to do that. To do something when the situation is good for you to do that. Right? So when you have a good situation to do something, you must do it. Otherwise, it'll be late and this situation might not exist later. So that's why he was thinking a man must make hay while the sun shines. Similarly, there is another common English expression. We say that save your money for a rainy day. Not a sunny day. Save your money for a rainy day. What is that? What is a rainy day? Again, when you have very bad or tough situation. Save your money for difficult times. Right? So these are common British expressions you can use in your writing, also in your speaking. And then at last it says, Mr. Passepartout came to the country. He reached the country. The sun was shining. The birds were singing. The fields were full of flowers. Passepartout felt sadder and sadder. You see, the nature is awesome, beautiful. The sun shines, birds chirp, the fields full of flowers. But Mr. Passepartout, in the midst of beautiful nature, he felt sadder. Why? Well, there's this debate between 2 poets, 2 British poets. One is Mr. William Wordsworth, and the other is Samuel Taylor Coleridge. So these 2 poets are very prominent poets of England. They were friends, but they had a great debate about nature. And the debate goes like this, that according to William Wordsworth, if you feel sad and you were put in front of nature, nature has the power to make you feel good, right? Nature has the power to make you feel good if you were sad or you were depressed. But Coleridge had a different view. His view was like this, that if my mind is alright, if I feel good, then I find nature beautiful. But if I feel bad, if I feel sad, then I will find nature not good, rather bad. I will find nature boring and dull. So it depends on how I feel, not on nature, but on how I feel. So Mr. Passepartout seems to be following the view of Coleridge. He seems to be like Coleridge, that nature is, no matter how beautiful the nature is, if I feel good, then it's good. If I feel bad, then nature is dull and boring. Right. So right after that, night, when Mr. Passepartout was in Yokohama, night fell and it was time to sleep, but he didn't have any place to sleep. So what should he do? He slept on the street. Have you ever seen any people sleeping on the street? Have you ever been outside of your house at night and looked around and found people sleeping on the street? Well, if you look at the screen, you will see that in most of the countries, you will find people who sleep on the street. These are homeless people, jobless people, beggars, and since they don't have any homes, they have to spend their night on the street, right? Poor people. Alright, so after that, Mr. Passepartout went to a second-hand clothes shop. He went to a shop which sold second-hand clothes. So he exchanged his good, posh British clothes with old Japanese clothes. If you look at the screen, Japanese clothes look like this. People who are from the middle class or elite class, they wear this dress. And people who are from the lower class, they wear this sort of clothes. So Mr. Passepartout bought old Japanese clothes, very old, and he got them cheap, and he had a good amount of money as well, and he ate a good meal. And now his job was to find a job, right? Because without any money, you can't go very far. So he needed a job. He was looking for a job. And all of a sudden, on the street of Yokohama, Japan, he saw a notice. It was a notice about the acrobats, that there will be a show of acrobats. Now, who are the acrobats? The acrobats are entertainers. They work in a circus. If you look at the screen, you will find the acrobats' performance. The acrobats are people, these people are entertainers, they work in a circus, and they do some sort of physical moves that amuse people, that entertain people. Moves that are difficult to execute, right? Difficult moves. Similarly, one common move is to walk on the string, on the rope. So, Mr. Passepartout saw this notice, and he made up his mind that he would join these acrobats. Why? Because he came to know that these acrobats will go from Japan to America. So he thought that his master was in America, and if he joined these acrobats, he will be able to go to America and meet his master. So he went to the manager of this group of acrobats, and he was looking for a job in that company. And the manager hired him for 3 reasons. Because Mr. Passepartout could sing, he could stand on his head, at the same time he could make funny faces. So he joined the company, and it was a time for the demonstration. And on the stage, when he was doing these moves, all of a sudden he, dropped one of the acrobats, and all the acrobats just fell on the floor. Why did he do that? Because when he was on the stage performing, he saw his master in the audience. So he didn't care about the show. He just watched his master and met him. And after that, the manager was very furious, very angry. But Mr. Fogg gave him some money, and if you provide money, then everything is settled down, right? So Mr. Fogg, now you might ask, how did Mr. Fogg come here in this circus? The answer is, Mr. Fogg, Ayuda, and Mr. Fix, they were on the American ship. When the American ship reached Yokohama, they found Carnatic in the harbor. So they went to the Carnatic and they made inquiry about Mr. Passepartout. And the people on the ship, they informed that yes, Mr. Passepartout was here, but now he is in Yokohama. So they were looking for him, and fortunately they found him at the circus. Alright, so after that, Mr. Passepartout, Mr. Fogg, and Mr. Fix and Ayuda, they were on the ship to go to San Francisco, the USA. They reached San Francisco on the 3rd of December. They reached San Francisco on the 3rd of December. But remember, Mr. Fogg must reach England by 21st of December. So how many days Mr. Fogg had in his hand? Only 18 days. By 18 days, Mr. Fogg must reach England. So when they were in San Francisco, look at what Mr. Passepartout said about the Americans. He said, "We are going to travel through some wild parts of America. Red Indians may attack us. Shouldn't we carry revolvers with us?" So who are the Red Indians? The Red Indians are the people, these are called the Native Americans. These people have been living in America for hundreds of years. They have been living in America before the Europeans came and took control of that land. But if you read the history written by the Europeans, you will find that the Europeans always present other cultures, other people as wild, as savage, as evil, as bad. That these people are not civilized. Similarly, the Europeans, they presented these people, the Red Indians, as wild people. Remember, Mr. Passepartout said, "We will travel through some wild part of America," wild part. Because Jules Verne also had this idea that the Red Indians were wild, were evil, were bad. And that's why they thought that they will need revolvers. But in reality, these Red Indians are not actually wild. These people are very peaceful, and also they love other people. But the reason they dressed like this is because their forefathers, the ancestors, were hunters. So when Mr. Fogg, Mr. Passepartout, and Mr. Fix and Mr. Ayuda, when they were out of, San Francisco, they faced a crowd. They were in the middle of a crowd. And in that crowd, there were two groups fighting over an election. And Mr. Fogg, Ayuda, and Mr. Fix, they were in the middle of the groups. When you were in the middle of a in the middle of a crowd, and the crowd has two groups fighting over each other, you will be beaten, even if you don't belong to any particular group, right? So Mr. Fogg, Mr. Fix, they were in the crowd, and suddenly a man called Stan Proctor, huge guy, he came up and he was about to punch Mr. Fogg. But accidentally or fortunately, he punched Mr. Fox and knocked him down. And Mr. Fogg got very furious. He said, "We shall meet again and you shall pay for this." Right? So after that, they were on the train. The train will go from San Francisco to New York. And from New York, they will go with the ship, they will go to England, back to England. So they were on the train, but Ayuda, suddenly she noticed that the man, Stan Proctor, he was on the train. He was on the train. So Ayuda informed Mr. Fix and Mr. Passepartout that Mr. Fogg should not meet this guy, otherwise they will be in a fight. So they made a plan, they bought some cards, and they made Mr. Fogg busy playing cards. The main intention was not to meet Stan Proctor. So this is how chapter 20 ends, but the question remains, that will their plan work? Will their plan work? If it doesn't work, then they will meet and fight again. But remember, Mr. Stan Proctor was a local American and Mr. Fogg was a foreigner. So when you have a fight between a local person and a foreigner, who generally wins? So these are the possibilities we will discover in the next few chapters, inshallah. In your homework, kindly complete the worksheet, and that's all for today. Jazakumullahu khair.